Okay, welcome everybody. This is our regular meeting, Tuesday, June the 21st. We're being live streamed electronically again on YouTube. So welcome to our public who is visiting us tonight in real, and anyone that's on live stream. Our staff, welcome, and council, it's great to get back together again. I know that it'll take a little while to get used to it, but so welcome everybody. And if we can just open our meeting with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We have our first motion. It was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that the regular meeting of council agenda dated June the 21st, 2022 be approved as amended to include bylaw 3919-2022, Jeffrey and Harley Moore, and change the confirmation bylaw to bylaw 3920-2022. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. I'll also remind all of council that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. We have a motion that was moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Councillor Straight that the minutes of the regular meeting of council June the 7th, 2022 be approved as circulated. All in favor? Those minutes are carried. Thank you. Do we have any business arising from those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we're moving on. We have no delegations tonight at our regular meeting. And the first report is going to be from our Public Works Manager, Mr. Athwell. Welcome, Steve. And I'll hand this part of the meeting over to you, and that's on our half-ton truck purchase. Thanks, Steve.
All right, thanks, Reeve. So this report is just for information, and happy to report we did end up getting our F-150 from Smith Falls Ford. Staff was very pleased and thankful for council for that, and we're just waiting on a couple more parts, and then we will, once we get it all deckled and everything on, we'll send the picture to council. And that is a report for information.
Any questions for Steve? Yes.
Delivery date?
It's sitting in public works bay right now.
Delivery.
Yes.
You picked a good choice too.
Okay, no further questions. Then we do have a motion that was moved by Councillor Straight and seconded by Deputy Vandermeer. The council accept the half-ton truck purchase report as information. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Steve. Yours is the next one, also on the entrance policy.
Thanks, Reeve. This report tonight is on the road entrance policy from last meeting to amend the existing policy to include urban amendments. So the new reading will be that every lot which is approved for residential dwellings will be given one residential lot. So as long as it gets through our planning to have a residential dwelling, we will honor one entrance per lot. Sorry. Report is that, or your information is that council approves or recommended changes to our urban road sections. And just to note that I have went through the policy, and I will bring a report in the future to council with kind of a modernization of our policy as it is quite dated. So just information. Report.
Does this affect at all, Steve, anything on the accessory dwellings and stuff that may be available in the future?
So in there, I do believe it's up to for accessories. There's nothing in there right now for that. That is something we could definitely look at in the future with this. But right now, it's strictly just one per and one residential per, and then up to 3 entrances per lot in the rural settings with farm, residential, and a field. And that's the combinations we have. So
And you said up to 3 for rural
That's correct. So if you have agricultural lands, you could put in 3 field entrances. If you have on that land, you have a residential entrance, you could only put in 2 fields. And the stipulation is basically that it's to give farmers access to the whole land. So we wouldn't give 3 entrances to everybody if it's in the same field. It's more or less if you need an entrance a little farther down to access a different field.
What would happen if a situation where a farmer needed 3, if they had 3 sections of a farm that to get access to a road?
That's exactly how it's written, and that they would be granted that if they need it, for sure.
So no further questions then? We have a motion here. It was moved by Deputy Vandermeer and seconded by Councillor Carroll. That council approve the recommended changes to urban road sections and that staff repeal bylaw 3307/2013 and approve bylaw 3917/2022, being a bylaw to establish a policy for access to township roads for the township of Montague. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And moving on, we have a motion here. It was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that the council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of June the 7th, 2022, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? Those are carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. Moving on, we have some bylaws tonight, several, and I'm going to read them. Yes.
I could declare a conflict of interest with bylaw 3915-2022.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You're going on what?
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the first one was moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Deputy Vandermeer. The bylaw 3915/2022 being a bylaw to appoint the deputy fire chief. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed and sealed this 21st day of June, 2022. Any questions? Yes.
Can we just go into and explain to make sure that all of the bases are covered, I guess? So if there's any questions from the public of, it being an employee to a city council member. And I just want to make sure that that's cleared up. I mean, I don't believe there's any issues, but I want to just make sure that it's cleared up, and if Allison can maybe just touch base on that, that would be always very helpful.
So, yep.
Chair through you. So yes, staff has gotten legal advice on the staff member council relation. It is still considered a volunteer position, no different than the captain or lieutenant or volunteer firefighter on the fire department. So there is no conflict. There's no issue there. The member can still continue to sit on council and be the volunteer deputy fire chief as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Allison. Good explanation. On the point system, is there a different point system for the deputy fire chief?
So the point system is the same. The deputy and the captains receive a different stipend, like they receive a lump sum. But that does not affect them as a volunteer member. Still, it's still a volunteer member. They're not an hourly. They don't get benefits. They don't get any of those things that we get as staff, pension. So it's no different. But yes, there is a different stipend for the deputy, similar to the captains, and moving forward with lieutenants as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No further questions then? Okay, all in favor of this bylaw? That's carried. Thank you. The next bylaw was moved by Councillor Straight and seconded by the Deputy Vandermeer. The bylaw 3916/2022 being a bylaw to establish user fees and charges administered by the Corporation of the Township of Montague. Be read the first, second, and third time and passed, signed and sealed this 21st day of June, 2022. All in favor? This is carried. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Just had a question.
Yeah.
Will this new fee structure go onto our website?
Yes, so
Okay.
it'll go onto the website. Staff will also be looking at it during budget time again, though, and you're gonna see this coming back again in another couple months with budget, but the new fees and charges by law will be put on onto the website.
Good.
Yep.
Public will know.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next bylaw, moved by Deputy Vandermeer and seconded by Councillor Carroll. That bylaw 39-17-2022 being a bylaw to establish a policy for access to township roads for the township of Montague. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed and signed and sealed this 21st day of June 2022. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Carroll, second by Councillor Jennings, that bylaw 39-18-2022 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement with Adrian Scouten, the owners of property described municipally as concession 2 lot 29, RP 27R9591, part 4, Rideau Valley Drive, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of June 2022. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And that's the end of the bylaws.
No, we haven't
Sorry.
amended.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So
I think in your resolution.
do we need one for that then?
Yeah.
So this is the amended one for the Jeffrey and Harley Moore development agreement that we talked about earlier when we were amending the agenda. And so we're going to have a new motion here. We need it moved and seconded. Yeah. Okay, so I need a mover and a second for this one. So moved by Councillor Jennings and second by Councillor Carroll. That bylaw 39-19-2022 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Jeffrey and Harley Moore. This will be read the first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of June 2022. No questions? All in favor? Okay, that one's carried. Thank you. And I can sign it a little later. Okay, moving on then. We have no notices of motions and motions. No correspondence items were moved forward. I guess these four now, do we deal with them now? They weren't moved forward there. They're
No.
just information items, right? Okay, so there are none, and there's no unfinished business or other business. And before we recess, we're going to be recessing and then reconvening later. So before we recess this part of the meeting, do we have any questions from the public or from Tom, who's with us here? So do we have any questions from the public, I guess, first, and maybe would Haley or you know that? Allison?
Haley, do we have any questions from the public? I don't have any online.
No.
We don't have any questions. no.
Tom?
Steve's already answered mine.
Okay, so we have no questions from the public then. I have a motion that was moved by Deputy Vandermeer and second by Councillor Carroll that council recess at 6:16 PM. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. And we'll reconvene this one a little later. And we'll just take a minute to move on to the committee of the whole meeting.
not retired. I tried for a little while. Kept calling, yeah, we'll do this. We'll do this, blah, 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 blah. So I took a chance. So it's now going for about 3 years. So I thought that one of the people that were the owners actually. Yeah. It's insanity. We just came to one of the pit or something, invoice. So we do that. She was muted. Was it? Yeah, they did. That's $80 an hour. Yeah. Won't start you there, so watch. That's where it's gonna be done sometimes, so they're big, yeah, so they're big times. We had a couple people who tried it. We just found that it was so incredibly neat. Whether it's being this, that's still do it. Second week.
Yeah, just start the meeting first.
He's hired.
Okay, so welcome back, everyone, to our committee of the whole meeting, June 21st. This one's also being live streamed. So we do have a motion here. It was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings that the committee of the whole agenda dated June the 21st, 2022 being approved as presented. All in favor? That's carried. Also, I'll remind all of council that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. And next, there's a delegation, and I'm going to be giving the delegation. So I guess I'll just, do I have to pass this part of the meeting over to Deputy Reeve Vladimir so that he can close me off in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I will do that. The clock will be on.
Yeah.
So Bill, if you hit the space bar, that'll change your slides. The space bar will change your slides.
Which is where?
The big,
Right.
The big space bar.
Where you
big
get
space bar. Yeah.
Oh, but this big one.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the first time I've ever done one of these, and I thought, well, what better place to start was at home with everybody that I know. And this presentation is actually, as you can see on the screen, it's about the future of food in your municipality. I volunteer. This has got nothing to do with politics, but I do volunteer with a group which we've been going for about 10 years. It's called LGL Food Corps. That's Leeds, Grenville, Lanark Food Corps. And really our vision in the beginning, and it still is that we hope that we want people to have more accessible food, affordable, easy to access, local and healthy. So that's more or less our vision. And so that's what this is entitled, The Future of Food in Your Municipality. Oops, did I go one too far?
Yeah, I think so, sir. You need to back up.
Yeah, back up.
Back up here.
And again. Yeah, so we wanted to introduce the council to the charter and the food corps and what it is. We also want to encourage you to think of the food as part of your mandate. There are things that you can do, especially when we're looking at official plans and bylaws and zoning and so on. So always try to think of local food when you're planning those areas and others. And then also to provide the tools and resources for the municipalities to take action on food issues. So you'll see when I'm finished that there may be, what we're encouraging you to do is be creative at home in Montague. I'm this is, as I said, the first time I've presented, but I'm going to actually end up being presenting to every municipality in Lanark County and every municipality in Leeds Grenville over the next year or two. So it's just really, this is more for education than anything right now. Why is food important? Well, it's obviously first the essential food human need. Food system facing many challenges. Affordable access is obviously one of the first. We know how much food has escalated in the last few years, and it's very, very difficult for a lot of people. We're also dependent on the imports, supply challenges and price fluctuations. We just need to think about the Ukraine-Russian conflict and how the fuel and grain and so on is being backed up, which is affecting everything here, prices, and we can't even get some of the stuff we used to. Climate change, all of us, when we pass any information at local council, we should be thinking of climate change and what we can do to mitigate the climate change. So that comes to water quality and biodiversity and so on. The fourth bullet there, farmers approaching retirement and challenges for new entrants. Really, I think that a lot of that speaks to the cost of land for new people trying to get into farming, which is very difficult. So are there things that local governments can do to help that? That's just the question. And last but not least, waste. And this is amazing to me, but we did some studies and found out that per person, Canadians waste 2,000 pounds. So if you can imagine that going into the landfill. And I know that this council and other councils have talked about possibilities of doing something to, say, recycle organic waste. I know that we live in the country and most of us, we have our own little pile out back and we do something with it. We have gardens and we use it, but what can we do as a municipality to help in that also is pretty important. So the rest is just kind of obvious there. We'll move on. Who is the food corps? I mentioned where it is, but we're made up of, I think about approximately 8 of us go to meetings. We have several meetings a year, and we come from farming, municipal and provincial government, community health and community food programs. I happen to be the rep for the farming and the municipal government, I think, but I usually speak as a farmer there. And when we started, myself and the mayor of Merrickville, Doug Struthers, the two of us, when we started, we were co-chairs, and that was 8 years ago, and he had lost that, so he stepped down, and so I just continued doing it. And some of the things that we've done there is I think we've done 2 over the years, Good Food in Schools Forum, where we had kids come, and it was really successful, talking about food and things that they can do. We've implemented toolkits. We've got 3. We've got a municipality one. Hopefully you've seen that. It's been on our website and I've mentioned it here, but we've got 3. The municipal toolkit, the eaters toolkit, and the school toolkit. I think the school toolkit gets used the most, but basically that's to give you some tools to work with. We've got a pretty up-to-date food inventory, and which is online at foodcorplgl.ca. We also have lots of things on Instagram and Facebook and through other partners that use it. So I encourage you to look at that. And again, if we can somewhere along the line start maybe applying some of this specifically to Monica Township. In other words, is there a possibility that we could do a food inventory? People that process and sell food in Montague, possibly. The food charter for the 2 counties, how did it come to be? Well, you'll see how long ago there. We had developed the food for LGL in the beginning. We had no charter. It took us almost 2 years to get together what we wanted as a charter. But we had surveys in the newspapers and so on at the time, and we actually consulted with over 500 people. And there was a steering committee of over 18. And we finally, and it's on the right, you can't read it there, but it's on our website. It took us 2 years to get the proper wording and what we wanted. But then we actually launched it in Perth in 2014, just 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, I guess now. And we had about 75, between 75 and 100 people were when we launched this. And it is, as you can see, it's a fairly dynamic document that right now we have been working on. We've successfully developed a land acknowledgement statement, which we now use at the beginning of our meetings. And what we're now trying to do is try to incorporate Indigenous food to our policy. I think that's going to be a big thing too. So LGL Food Corps, what does it say? Everyone has the right to food and the means to obtain healthy food and safe water. That's everyone. And when you look at it there's a lot of people in the food chain. Farmers is only one. Growers, producers, individuals, community organizations, business institutions, and local governments. And we all should work together to try to create a strong and healthy food system. There's 6 sections that we look at, which you can read on your own. And we try to incorporate them in everything that we do. A food charter. These are the things that a food charter can do. And some municipalities have already done this pretty successfully. The first one, express a community's vision for the food system. Start conversations about food and agriculture. Connect individuals and groups who share an interest in food. Help improve food access. Promote local grown and produced food. I made my own note here. Right now, I myself, for instance, when we're talking about helping to protect food land, for instance, I'm speaking out actually as a farmer, nothing to do with me being in politics, but speaking out against the closure of the Grenville Agricultural College and the fact that they're probably going to be bringing a jail there. And to do that, they have to demolish a lot of the buildings, and worse than that, they have to cover up the number 2 and 3 accessible land with pavement. So what can we all do to protect farmland? Then also promote the second last one, that promote the availability of healthy food choices. That's where we look. If you look at the municipal toolkit and see what we've done for that, part of that got started when we would go to events where there were municipal halls and so on, and we saw the food that was being offered, and it was not very good. So we thought we'll bring in some municipal toolkits and look at that. Last, help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Well, that's something that I think our council does already and our staff, and I think we should continue to do that as much as possible. We're a small community in the bigger scheme of things, but if everybody does something small and it all adds up, then we're all going to help to reduce greenhouse gas. And everybody has their part to play here. Maybe, for instance, is there something that we can do to create the community gardens? Is there something that we could do in the meantime with the 22 acres? Is there something we could do in the meantime with our industrial park? Is there something we can do with that food? Now, you'll see there's a division there. Who's responsible for the food? Well, the federal government, you can see where they come in, taxation, the food policy, funds, food guides, and so on. Provincial government, there's another side to that, social systems, local food strategies, or MAFRA, and so on. But also, my question is, we should be adding the municipal government there. So what can we do as municipal governments? food terms, you know, which, now this is interesting. We looked at many different official plans. And when we read all the official plans, these are the words that we found in the official plans, which is quite amazing. So if there's that many words used in official plans, then that says to us that when we're planning and reviewing official plans, what can we do to make food more accessible and so on. And we also looked at bylaws, but we couldn't find bylaws that had too many words in it. So that was interesting, I thought. And then now these are just some examples and you can read them there. The third one there, I noticed Minister Mills is investigating a potential community farm on town land. That's what made me think that we've got town land here and it's sitting, well, we have plans in the future maybe, but what can we do with it right now? It wouldn't cost very much to have a community garden over there. Let's see. Next. Yes, I mentioned that we did municipalities, schools and eaters toolkits. They're here, they're on the side, they're too small to read, but please feel free, if you go on the website, you can read them and see what they're all about and see and just start trying to be creative when you start looking at especially the municipalities toolkit. See what we can do there. Some other opportunities that we can take. Again, it's sort of repeating this, but provide explicit permission in official plans for agricultural related uses of lands in most zones, including land and water, community gardens. And the second one, provide explicit permission in official plans for farmers markets. It's not in all of the official plans, so it's important that if it's in the official plan, then it's easy to move forward. For farmers markets and food hubs in most zones, including settlement areas with zoning bylaws, identifying specific zoning locations, and thirdly, designate a municipal representative. So we're always looking for people who want to sit with us. I think I'm probably the only volunteer on it. The rest of them are all work for either health units or other groups that we're involved with. But we're always looking for outside people, so we encourage that. And specifically, if down the road somebody wants to be a member from Monty municipal government, that'd be fabulous too. So that's all I wanted to say. We just wanted to let you know what LGL Food Corps was all about. It's we're a lobby group, I'll say, but our passion is food, and it's pretty important. And I do remember one of the very first times that I met Dr. Paula Stewart, who is the outgoing, or at least she will be outgoing in a couple of months, the medical officer of health. The first time I met her was at the Leeds, and there was a meeting there. She pulled together everyone that was interested in local food, and there were about 80 people there. I noted at the time there were no doctors and only one retired teacher. And we thought at the time that teachers and doctors should be the people who are there. But the thing that impressed me about her was that she didn't really talk about healthcare. She talked about prevention. And what she talked about more than anything was food. And that's where it starts. So if we have good food, then we're healthier and we save money in the end. So that's my presentation. And if there's any questions, I'd love for you to ask me, but otherwise, feel free to go on the website and follow up.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
much, Bill. John, questions from council?
Yes.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
council.
You mentioned Kempville and the jail that's going in.
Yeah.
I know there are some food initiatives in the whole penitentiary, or I don't know exactly the proper term for it in the prison system right now, because a few years ago we built a few grain bins in Kingston at the penitentiary, and they're discussing building another one right now. So it'd be interesting to see if when the penitentiary or the prison comes to Kemple, there's a large swath of land there. It'd be great if there's someone that actually pushed them to maybe utilize the land in the same way that they're doing it in Kingston right now.
So that's a good question, and I asked that question about a week or two ago, because there is a group called CAP, CAPP. They're the group that's opposing the jail.
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily opposing the jail. What I'm involved in is trying to save the land and save the buildings. But I did ask the question if there was any plans for the jail to be using any of the land as a farm, and they said no.
That's too bad.
And it is too bad because the jail, I thought the jail was quite successful in Joyceville as it worked there, but we know that the government slowed that down. So what you're saying would be fantastic if the jail did end up coming there. And it's called the Ottawa Correctional Services, I think.
It's who's overseeing it.
But if it did come there and they were able to utilize some of the land, that would be fabulous. The second best thing will be so what happens down there is there's 185 acres of land. That's at the farm, not at the college where the school used to be, but on the edge of town, 185 acres. And the thought is that the jail itself is going to take up 50 acres. And so they'll be paving over over that 50 acres. And then they still need another 30 or so for fencing and parking lots and so on. And then there's land that's left over. So and depending on who you talk to, one will say the jail is going on a land that can't be tilled, and others are saying it's really good land. I'm opposed to them changing any of it. I'd like to see them keep the whole farm and use it for food initiatives and agriculture initiatives, just like you're talking about, because the public can do a lot of that too. So
that land, if it's at the college now, there was experimental sections there.
Yep.
Is that all shut down now?
all of it's shut down. And right now, the land, it's kind of in a transformation between the Ministry of Agriculture to the Ministry of Solicitor General. It hasn't been transferred yet, but it's in the works. And I know that the opposition group is trying to stop that for now.
With your organization of food and so forth, your group looking for food donations?
And no, and we're not here with any financial ask, and we just want you to get to know what LGL Food Corps is all about, and really encourage you to look at those 3 toolkits. That's the most important thing, I think. And then see how you can apply what you do here, what we do here around this table, to do with food and water and waste and so on.
Okay.
So thank you for this.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
We'll allow you to reconvene and take charge of the meeting.
Thanks. Is Forbes with us? Okay, so the next part of our meeting is the report of the municipal officers. And we do have our contracted planner, Forbes Simon. Hi, Forbes, I see you there.
Forbes, there it is.
And that's on 159 Old Orchard Road, the site plan agreement. So Forbes, I'll hand this part of it over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Reeve, and it's always a pleasure to be back before you. The matter of 159 Old Orchard Road, this is a site plan for a waterfront.
Sorry, Forbes.
Just one sec, Forbes, please.
Just a second. We can't hear you, so just a minute.
We're just waiting. We're just getting a little bit better sound here, Forbes.
Thank you.
You might be able to hear them better here.
know that it's all 2 years now.
Mhm.
Your operation.
Forbes, can you try speaking now?
Sure. Can you hear me at all, Ali?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Okay.
May I
Okay,
proceed with my report, Reeve?
yes, you can go ahead now, Forbes. We can hear you a lot better. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So the matter of 159 Old Orchard Road, this is a site plan. It's an application involving a waterfront property. And this application involves the redevelopment of the property. It was already before your committee of adjustment back a month or so ago to deal with a decreased minimum rear yard setback and an increased lot coverage. And this was to allow for the building to be as far back from the water as possible. We've reviewed the matter. The file has been circulated. We've got comments, and the agreement is now in a position where we are happy to recommend council endorse it and have the mayor and the clerk execute. That's my report, Reeve.
Do we have any questions from council? So I see no questions, and we do have a motion here, Forbes. It was moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Councillor Straight that the committee of the whole supports in principle the site plan application submitted by the owners of the property known municipally as 159 Old Orchard Road, and that council passes a resolution authorizing the clerk administrator and Reeve to execute a site plan agreement with Catherine Wilkinson to accommodate the minimum rear yard setback and increased lot coverage for the subject lands described in Schedule A. All in favor? And that's carried. Yours is the next one also, Forbes, and that's on 169 Jim Marr Lane.
And Reeve, this is exactly the same situation. There's an addition that's being proposed to the cottage with an attached deck. It's not closer to the waterfront. It's being reviewed. Everything is in good order, and it's a straightforward site plan agreement that we would recommend the Reeve and the clerk execute at this time.
Thank you. Then we have, I don't see any further questions, but we do have a motion. It was moved by Councillor Straight and seconded by Deputy Reeve Vandermeer that the council of the whole supports in principle the site plan application submitted by the owners of the property known as 169 Jim Marr Lane, and that council passes a resolution authorizing the clerk administrator and Reeve to execute a site plan agreement with Eric and Janice Green to accommodate the removal and construction of an addition to the existing residential dwelling abutting the Rideau Canal NHS, which must accommodate and be compatible with the natural and cultural of the area. All in favor? And that's carried.
Reeve, my apologies for not being available during your regular council meeting. And I don't know if there were items that were deferred or delayed at that time, but if not, I think I'm done.
No, I don't think so. And I don't think we have any further questions here for you, Forbes.
Thank you very much. Reeve, I'll have you leave then.
Easy tonight. Thanks.
Very good. Take
Thanks
care,
a lot,
everybody.
Forbes. And then we're going to go back to you, I guess, our treasurer, our acting clerk. Treasurer and everything else.
Thank you, Chair. So as council is aware and committee is aware, we did applied for the ISIP program for COVID back in December 2020. It was almost next to a guarantee to get the monies as long as you were using it towards something for some kind of capital infrastructure. So the project that was applied for was the municipal office, the roof, and then there was an amendment to the scope to include windows. The monies have to be spent by the end of this year because we were a remote or more rural area. We got an additional year to spend the monies. So the roof has been fixed. The drywall work has just actually been completed on the inside from the leaking. So it's about $20,000. So we have about 80,000 left of the 100,000 funding. So we did reach out to 3 local commercial door and window businesses to receive pricing. We had 2 come on site. I've only received 1 written quotation to date from Birchall. So the quotation that we received for just the windows, because that's what the current scope of the project entails, was $22,530 plus HST. Now, when they were here, we did request pricing for accessible doors and also had them go over to Rosedale for that because we need quotes to apply for the OTF application in August. So the accessible doors for both doors here, the front and the side, and to replace the back door, I believe, was $18,120 plus HST. And then for, we just got the pricing for Rosedale. And again, it was less than 20,000 to do all the windows at Rosedale, the accessible doors, the side doors as well, because some of them aren't functioning properly. So I've reached out to ISIP to see if we can make another change to our project. I'm putting it forward that it's not really a big change in scope because it's windows and doors, not just windows. They kind of function as a package usually. So if we get that approval, the recommendation from staff is to go ahead and get our accessible doors put in here and get them put in at Rosedale through this money if we can, instead of potentially giving monies back that we don't like to do. So at this time, because we don't know if it's approved for the scope, I don't see it being an issue, but until that time. So the recommendation is to go ahead and approve for the windows because there is a lead time of anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks for windows. So we'd be looking at potentially like October for them to get installed. So to go ahead and approve the purchase of the windows and provide staff the ability to approve the accessible doors for both here and Rosedale in the event that our project scope is approved to be changed with ISIP, to make sure that those projects get done before the December end of the funding.
Any questions? Okay, Ian and Buzz, and I think, no, Ian?
Yes, since you've included all the Rosedale stuff and all the doors and all the windows, so we just give you, we go ahead tonight to go ahead with the whole thing. If it's approved by ISIP, then is that okay? Or
Yeah, so in the recommendation, that's what the recommendation kind of says, is that
for everything?
as long as ISIP funding will accommodate. So basically,
Okay.
as long as the scope
Alright, just wanna make sure.
is, I don't want to go ahead and purchase it without them saying yes, because we have to submit all of our receipts and all of our invoices. So as long as they say yes, that basically this evening, you're saying go ahead, especially if they let me know in July and we're recessed, that we can go ahead and get them ordered and get them scheduled in.
I just want to make sure we capture everything. That's all.
Yeah.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Deputy Veteriner?
When you say, thank you, Reed. Alice, when you say accessible, you're talking automatic door openers.
Yes,
Okay, at the front, for Rosedale, then the front entrance is double door.
Yep.
So that'll be
accessible.
just the one door will be,
Yep,
and the other door will stay stationary.
that's right.
Okay. Here at the front entrance, what about that lip?
So they're going to address all of that. And on the front entrance, there's the outside door and then that inside door. That inside
Yeah.
door has to come out anyways for accessible opening. So that would be opened up. And then the front lip, they actually have to, because the accessible door is wider than the current door, because it's 38 inches and I think the current door is 36. So they're actually going to cut into the concrete and have to open that up some. Yeah.
And same thing with here. Now, speaking of concrete, outside this door here, we have this little concrete wall
Yeah, we'll have to address that.
that's coming out of there too.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
may address that ourselves. We're not gonna get the window and door people to do that. That'll be separate.
Even for us people who don't have a wheelchair, it's a pain,
I know,
trip over many times.
I know. So we will be addressing that. And then, like you said, even if you see in the quotes, like we will still have some funds to address some of the contingent issues that we have as well and get that all cleaned up, hopefully.
Okay, the windows will be all replaced, Jonathan?
The windows are all going to be replaced. We quoted basically the same to have the grids for the look, but it's going to have a opener. So it's going to have an opener on every window, because right now none of our windows open. So they'll have a crank, one window crank for each window to allow that fresh air to come in.
So the black tar will be going off those windows now.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Excellent.
No other questions then? Okay, so we have a motion that was moved by Deputy Reeve Vandermeer and seconded by Councillor Carroll, that council directs staff to purchase the windows and have the windows installed at the municipal office from virtual glass, and that council approves staff to purchase accessible doors for the municipal office from virtual glass, as long as the project description from the ICIP funding will accommodate, and that council approves staff to purchase windows, doors, and accessible doors at Rosedale Hall from virtual glass, as long as the project description from the ICIP funding will accommodate. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for that one, Allison. And that next, we have no reports of committees, no petitions, motions, no motions, unfinished and other business. And before we adjourn, do we have any questions from the public?
No, we don't have any questions.
Okay, and yes, Tom.
On your site plan agreement with Catherine Wilkinson, what is it that, because the minor variance, we approved certain portions of it. Are you reapproving the same things that we did, or are you just approving the water setbacks?
So the site plan, Tom, is to be registered on title to accommodate all the items that would have been discussed in the committee of adjustment, that's on title for anybody who purchases that property, and to make sure that they follow what was approved. That's basically what the site plan agreements are for. So any property that is on water that is within that setback has to have a site plan agreement, noting that this is what the approval was for. So they have to follow it, and it's on title.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it, like, on minor variances, normally it doesn't come through council when it's not on water.
That's right.
And I just wondered why you were including the back setback and whatnot, and the side setback.
Yep. Because it's on water.
Oh, I thought the plan was for the grading from the water and stuff like that, but it includes everything.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions then? Okay, thanks, Tom. And then we have a motion that was moved by Councillor Carroll and seconded by Councillor Jennings, that the committee of the whole meeting do now adjourn at 6:55. 6:55, I will say. PM, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We're just going to take a minute and then we're going to reconvene and go back to our council meeting.
That's in camera,
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks all, council. You guys
That's
have a good
it.
night.
You too.
Oh,
Bye.
so just 1 minute, just the two of you there. I had something else to say before you leave, so just give me 1 sec there, please.
Congratulations, Ian.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yeah, we got that.
We have a motion here, was moved by Councillor Jennings and seconded by Councillor Straight. The council reconvene at 6:56 PM. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So before we do moving camera, I did have a note here also, just like Tom. This is directed to our councillor Straight. I just want to congratulate you on behalf of council here. As you know, when you were out of here, that we did appoint you as the deputy fire chief. And we just want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate you on behalf of council. And I know that you've been a captain for quite a few years, and there were about 5 of you or so. And I think that it's really great that we can, do our planning with succession planning and move up. And I've said, I don't know how many times I've said this, but I feel that, our fire department is probably the most important people that we have in the community. For obvious reasons. We know that, and that I feel that. And again, now that you're moving up, that I guess it's the first time we've actually had
Second time.
is it the second time yet? So Miles was the deputy for a while there, and now you. So anyways, I just want to congratulate you, and it looks like that we've got a more wholesome group now and to move forward. And I guess it'll be leaving a space for somebody else to move in as a captain. So congrats. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I definitely appreciate that and look forward to continuing to serve the people of Montague.
Great.
Have a great night, council.
So we have a motion moved by Councillor Jennings and second by Councillor Straight that this council moves into closed session as per S 239 2 of the Municipal Act S 0/2001 in order to address 4 items.
One item.
Oh, sorry.
Should be one.
One item. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, more specifically cleaning contract, Rosedale Hall. All in favor? And that's carried.
Oh, there's there.